Hello and a very warm welcome to all of you. I'm Meha Bharadwaj Alter and this is Game On. It's an exciting time for sport in India. Around 66% of the total population of India is below the age of 35. So not only are we living in a country with one of the youngest populations, the youth today wants to play sports other than cricket. They want to follow sports other than cricket, and they have the choice to be able to do just that given the digital age that we're in. So, for people who love sports, India is finally becoming the country where sports business is booming and is expected to reach 100 billion by 2027. It's the very reason why sports leagues and the ecosystem around it has exploded in the country. There are currently 15 plus franchise leagues in India, more than that. Today we look at one such league that's taken its first successful step in the right direction, the Rupee Prime Volleyball League. The third season of PVL is already on in Chennai, and this year there are 9 franchises with Delhi Tufans joining the league. The second season was broadcast in 5 languages and already saw approximately 55% increase in viewership, going from 133 million to 206 million. This edition is bigger than the last one, with 19 sponsors and partners, including Hrithik Roshan as the brand ambassador. So more number of teams, more sponsors. Valuation has more than quadrupled to $90 million since its inception. How can we not put this success story out for all of you? So what has gone behind creating PVL? We have Joy Bhattacharya. He is the CEO of Prime Volleyball League, and we all know him as one of the best storytellers when it comes to sports. He's a brilliant cricket analyst, but actually understands every sport. He's been in this industry longer than all of us here. So I welcome Joy to the show. Joy, thank you so much for taking the time out.
Absolutely. Totally my pleasure. And it's really nice of you. I really enjoy all sport. I can't claim to know that much about all of them, but truly a pleasure working in sport. And as you will also say, absolutely, it's such an exciting time to be in Indian sport. Thank you.
Yes. And also joining us is Tuhin Mishra, the co-founder and MD of Baseline Ventures, which co-owns the league. I can tell you one thing. I have at different occasions have called Tuhin's team for interviews because he also manages players. His company manages players, but right now he's part of Baseline Ventures that co-owns the league. We have Vineet Kumar, who plays from Kolkata Thunderbolts. He was the captain of the Indian volleyball team that stunned South Korea in Hangzhou Asian Games 2022. We all remember that game. Lastly, but definitely not the least, we have the legend, a veteran of the sport, Mohan Ukrapandian, who plays as setter for Calicut Heroes. Let me also welcome all the gentlemen here on the show. Thank you so much. I've got to thank you because this is a busy time for you. So for you to be able to take some time out for us, you're in the middle of getting to the business end of this season. So thank you so much. Tuhin?
Thank you, Neha.
Okay, then let's get started. Let's start with Joy and Tuhin. I've got to start with this. You've been in this industry long enough, gentlemen. How did you zero in on volleyball as a sport to start a league in? Joy, you want to start?
Lead on that. I'll allow Tuhin to lead on that because he is the man who brought me into volleyball. So I think it's his story first.
Okay. Tuhin?
No, so Neha, thank you so much for having us on the show. So just a quick one. This is way back in 2016. As a company, we've interacted earlier on other aspects of sports marketing. So one of the things that we were actually looking for was a new sport that we could actually take up, and we were pleasantly surprised when we came across volleyball. Because what we realized that probably volleyball was one team sport in this country where a league did not exist at that point in time. And also, one big thing that we all felt as a team, and obviously when we had Joy also joining us and coming on board as the CEO for our league at that point in time, was what is that sport which has a global appeal, is a global sport, is an Olympic sport, and the sport has a legacy also in India. And volleyball was actually one of those topmost sports that came to our mind. And that's when we started doing the hard work in terms of reaching out to the authorities at that point in time. And a league in an avatar, which was earlier known as Pro Volleyball, took shape. And we did a season one of that. And for multiple reasons, there were some issues with that. When we actually did it in a rechristened manner, which was called Prime Volleyball League, which started with season one in 2022. And I think there's no looking back the way it has been accepted by players, by the ecosystem, because we wanted to create a league which is going to be a league for the players first. And then other things obviously fell in place.
Okay, now it obviously takes more than just zeroing in on an idea, on a sport that you want to, you want to start a league in. How do you market it well? How do you make a financial sustainable, model around it? Joy, I'm sure you had a huge role in that. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so amazing. The great thing about it is it's a very interesting thing. Volleyball is a perfect example of a sport which everyone plays in school or college. But at some point in time, you never see that sport actually on television other than in the Olympics or the Asian Games. So somewhere people are playing volleyball, they are playing that, and then they're stopping there. So what we said was, here is a huge opportunity, not only for us to do a volleyball league, but to reinvent the game. So we looked at it exactly like somebody would look at ODI cricket, and we said, what's the problem with volleyball? The 25-point sets were too long. There was a period in the middle, just like 50 over cricket, where people were just losing interest. So we said we're going to have 15-point sets. Okay, and that by itself is a huge innovation. The second thing we did, and this is, we got a super point. So teams can actually take a super point. On that point, your points actually double. So if you're taking it while, say, receiving serve, if you win the point, you get 2 points. If you lose the point, your opponent gets 2 points. And then we got something called a super serve. That means if there's an ace in which the opponent does not even touch the ball, they get 2 points. The interesting thing is we could do these innovations because the professional volleyball market in India was not there at all. And you will not believe it, internationally, the world, FIVB tells us that, we would love to do innovations in our sport, but we can't do it because there's too much opposition. So they are fascinated by what we do with volleyball, and they look at it, we are the lab, we are the cutting edge of, what you call innovation in volleyball. And you will not believe FIVB, our feed goes in volleyball world around the world because FIVB recognizes what this league is doing, what kind of pioneering stuff this league is doing. And what is happening now is that, they're looking at our innovations with a great deal of interest, saying how this can actually change the sport. So in a sport where India is just rising, the market is just rising, we've still managed to be, catch the interest of the world and be top innovators. So lots happening out there as well.
Okay, let's also get the players involved then, Vineet. Third edition hai is League का. As a player, there you guys are on the big screen. As a player, आपको कैसे impact किया है?
इम्पैक्ट तो बहुत किया है रूबी प्राइम वॉलीबॉल लीग ने, और अपॉर्चुनिटी भी जो हमको मिली है और यंग प्लेयर्स को जो मिली है तो वो बहुत अच्छी है। और क्योंकि यहाँ पे रूल्स थोड़े अलग हैं तो वो काफी थ्रिलिंग है, और उसमें ऑडियंस ही नहीं प्लेयर्स को भी काफी थ्रिल फील होता है मैच में, और उससे स्पोर्ट काफी फास्ट हो गया है।
मोहन उग्रपांडियन, 2022 Asian Games is one of those moments where India watched what the volleyball team was doing, right? Especially in the way you played against South Korea. How much of that was your exposure to this league?
It's a very big thing because we experienced that 2022 Asian Games because of this league, Prime League. We're having that pressure in the league. So while going for that match in Asian Games last time, we already faced those kind of things in the leagues. So we didn't feel any pressure playing against Korea and all. We were just playing our game and we are enjoying that game. That Prime Leagues has been a very big impact in the players in the last Asian Games.
Okay, the other thing, Tuhin, is, as much as I said this in the beginning in my intro as well, that this is an exciting time for sport in the country. no doubt about it, but we also have to realize that whatever we might say, cricket is the most popular sport in the country, and that is the reality at the moment. How difficult was it to approach the investors? You know, was there skepticism around, or were they open to the idea of starting this league?
As a matter of fact, Neha, which I'll just take a leaf out of what Joy was mentioning earlier. So when we started Prime Volleyball League, one thing which was really great for us, and obviously in terms of an economic model that we had created, and probably that's one of its kind in India. I don't think there's any other league of that, say, a model which currently exists in India, where every team owner is also an owner in the league, right? And obviously, depending on what time or what period that team came into existence in this Prime Volleyball League, this is built exactly on the model of an NBA, right? So what happens is that in this kind of a model, that when a potential team owner comes, he's not only thinking about his own team per se, but he's also thinking about the league per se. So what happens is that, you know, everyone's interest is actually kind of culminates into making or ensuring that the league becomes bigger and bigger. So someone is, or a team owner, from Cochin, say a Mr. Thomas Muthoot, who owns the Cochin team, he's not only thinking that how should he just make his Kochi Blue Spikers the best team in the league. He's also thinking that, okay, what are the various ways where we can, where he can actually contribute, which can probably help mitigate costs in some manner. He might have a great contact with a hotel chain, so we use his contacts to get the best deal for a hotel. Someone has great contacts with an airline industry, you know. So we have various team owners who come from various, I would say, walks of life, and everyone contributes in a certain manner. And that's what makes this league very special. So when we started going out and reaching out to like-minded owners, I would say it was very easy in that sense, because they could see that they are not going to be just treated as, you know, like a, say, a stepchild of a bigger league, because that's what happens most of the times in India, that you have one rights holder and it almost becomes like a dictatorial thing. Here, it's a very kind of a inclusive environment which is there, and which actually becomes has been our biggest USP in terms of selling this league.
Do you also think that this you know, sports league landscape has changed since Pro Kabaddi, Joy?
Definitely, Pro Kabaddi, I think, has a great impact. I think it changed from the IPL. And I was part of that first original IPL. And I think the big thing about it is, you know, the ecosystem growing. So when you get a player, just seeing the players get good nutrition, they start eating well, they start understanding good training techniques, they understand good recovery techniques. They take those back to their state teams, they take those back to their institutional teams. And these physios and all, they start moving on and start working with more people as well. So the impact of a league is huge. It's sort of the entire ecosystem sort of changes. And I think that is one of the journeys that you're seeing today. If you have a successful league, and the Pro Kabaddi League is a great example of that, they're doing very, very well. And the thing about it is that they actually create, not just for the team, but for people around and for the ecosystem of Kabaddi, they create a lot of opportunities. And it's exactly the same in volleyball. In fact, I'll give you one more example. We have, in year one, we had no international coaches. In year two, we had one international coach. In year one, we had one international coach. Now we have 6 of the 9 are international coaches. And it's not that Indian coaches are not good. There are some great Indian coaches. They're doing very well as well. But what you're getting is, Indian volleyball is getting a breath of fresh air. That means top players and top coaches from around the world are actually bringing their experiences, their knowledge, their skills into it. And that really is what is changing it. So the way there's, for example, the setter is a guy who, you know, sets up the ball for somebody to hit. So the way setters play in our league now, over the last year, and Ukra will tell you much more about, so much has changed. So many new techniques have come into it. And I just love the way the game is evolving. The other thing, let me tell you, why are we so serious about this? Because at the end of the day, if we do this right, volleyball is one of the few games where India has a genuine chance of reaching an Olympics in 28 or 32. And this is not my opinion. I'm not an expert enough to say it. This is the opinion of people at the Federation of the Volleyball World Federation. They feel at FIVB that if India, the talent is all there, if we can marshal it in the right direction, then we definitely have a chance to be there in 28 or 32. And that for us is really exciting. If we can get this game, which is both a rural game and an urban game does not require too much space, does not require too much area or infrastructure to play it. If we can make this an Olympic sport, there is no better contribution that we can make to Indian sport.
Okay, on that note, we're going to slip into a short break. But what goes behind creating a successful non-cricket league in the country? If you want to know more about that, you come right back to us.
Start with the end in mind. You need to know where you want to reach. Every morning that we wake up, we are exercising our choice. The destiny is decided. The results are known that I'm going to win. Life of a goalkeeper is something which has always intrigued me.
When you come into a stadium, this is the highest level of pressure.
When I set out to do something, I decide in my mind that failure is not an option.
What you feel very strongly about, those are the stories to tell.
I have a mind which is absolutely restless.
Mind and body are entangled sensations.
That brings me back to golf. It's an amazing game.
This is not a perfect game. You only learn from them.
If you have a formula to a success, then you can replicate it.
I feel this is my first step. I'm starting now.
Winner is first born in the mind. I think, therefore I am. We are all about our mind.
This and more. Streaming on News9, plus subscribe and get free vouchers.
Welcome back. We're talking about what it takes to create and conceptualize a successful non-cricket league. I'm joined here by Joy Bhattacharya. Tuhin is here with us, who's the MD of Baseline Ventures that co-owns PVL. I have two players with me from the Volleyball League. There's Vineet Kumar, Mohan Ukrapandian. Both of them are here as well. I've spoken to the management side of things. Let's also get the players' perspective on recognition. One of the things, Vineet, एक चीज़ है, जब भी आप कोई स्पोर्ट खेलना शुरू करते हैं तो ठीक है, सक्सेस बहुत ज़रूरी है, पर उसी के साथ कहीं ना कहीं आपके अंदर एक ये भी होता है कि भाई थोड़ा रिकग्निशन भी मिले. हम हर बार इसको क्रिकेट से कंपेयर नहीं करेंगे, पर दूसरे स्पोर्ट में भी अब हम देखते हैं कि इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे अगर आप अच्छा कर रहे हो तो आपको रिकग्निशन मिल रहा है. फिर वो नीरज चोपड़ा हो, फिर आपके एथलेटिक्स में ही दूसरे एथलीट्स हों. अब जब ये लीग स्टार्ट हुई है और सक्सेसफुल हो रही है, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग इसे देख रहे हैं, क्या आपको वो रिकग्निशन मिल रहा है?
या बिल्कुल मैम, और एक प्लेयर को सक्सेस के साथ साथ रिकग्निशन भी चाहिए, और प्राइम वॉलीबॉल लीग के थ्रू हम लोगों को वो रिकग्निशन मिल रहा है, और सभी प्लेयर्स को, क्योंकि ये जो प्राइम वॉलीबॉल लीग है ये बहुत अच्छा इसका रीच है, और हम लोगों को सभी दूर दूर से भी मतलब लोग पहचानने लगे हैं जो हम लोगों को पहले नहीं जानते थे. तो वो रिकग्निशन डेफिनेटली हम लोगों को मिल रहा है प्राइम वॉलीबॉल लीग के थ्रू.
एक चीज और मोहन, there's one thing about, you know, how there are sports that are played in certain parts of this country. They're more popular rather in certain parts of this country. I had a conversation with Tenzing Niyogi. He's the CEO of Ultimate Kho-Kho, and one of the things he said was that when he went to Maharashtra's Ichalkaranji, where he saw a local Kho-Kho tournament, he saw that there were thousands of people that had come in to watch that tournament, and that's where he realized the power of that sport in that area. With now volleyball getting this league, it's in its third edition, are you seeing that kind of growth in other places as well, which weren't traditionally, parts which were playing volleyball?
Yeah, you are absolutely right that after this primary league, from every state and the players, those who are coming from the districts, they have come to know that the volleyball is a game like cricket or some other games. So it's getting popular right now. Like you said, if you go to Kerala or Tamil Nadu or Andhra, everywhere. Now, if you're going to Kerala, you can see the people, those who are very much attached with the volleyball, the fans, those who are very much crazy about volleyball. I had that experience in my previous years whenever I'm going for playing for some other tournaments or like All India tournaments or something else. After this Prime League came, we had more recognized from the fans, even from the family side. Before the family members, some of the family close members knows that I'm a player, that I'm going for going to play for Indian team like that. They come to know that after this prime and all, they come to know the things what the volleyball is, what the things is happening in volleyball. Now these through this prime league, we are getting that fame that recognized from the departments where we are working right now.
Okay, Tuhin, how does it work then with PVL having bypassed the Volleyball Federation of India and is in direct contact with the international body? I've got to ask you this because it's a strange one. So, can you tell us more?
So it's all there in public domain, Neha. So the reality is that we had one bitter experience. I won't go into the details of that experience, but let's say that we had one bitter experience in 2019 with the federation. But that was I would say it was sweet bitter because it was also a learning curve for us because we realized what we need to do and what is the kind of model that we have to work on which can make the league sustainable. I mean, as we were talking, I'm also seeing some of the tickers which are going on. You would have seen, right? And I'm sure your content team has put up very nicely. A lot of leagues have failed.
Yeah.
A lot of leagues have failed only because there's not a sustainable model in place. What has happened with us? Because the day we decided to go the private route, and we are the only, say, a privately owned professional league in this country, which is our Prime Volleyball League. Now, the model that we are working on is a very sustainable model. Yes, we are not saying that every team is going to start making profits right from day one or say season one.
Sure.
There are some teams which have actually broken even in season one. Some teams would have had losses, but the reality is that there's light at the end of the tunnel. With a lot of leagues, the problem is there's no light at the end of the tunnel because the way things have been structured with the federation, there has to be these huge amounts that needs to be paid as minimum guarantees and so on and so forth. So for us, it's been a great blessing in disguise that there were issues at a federation level. And we saw that as an opportunity to kind of go and make a model which is probably win-win for everyone, because most important is that your players need to benefit and the investors, which is the team owners, they also should feel that there could be returns coming at a certain point in time. And that PVL has managed to show it to everyone.
But does it not help if you're working side by side with the National Federation to just sort of develop talent at the grassroots level?
Yes, if it's a BCCI, for sure. But I'm sorry to say it does not. I can't say for every other federation per se. But yes, there are some federations which are very nicely run. And yes, if you're working with those kind of federations, yes, it does make sense.
Okay.
But then there are some which are really badly run. Probably volleyball is one of them.
Yeah, which is the case with a lot other as well. But a quick one, because Joy is such a wonderful storyteller, and I know I've been asked to wrap this show up, but stories of success is what we love in sport. Have you come across, one or two at the top of your mind?
Oh, there's so many. And there is this player called Ratish.
Yeah.
And Ratish used to work in a very humble job search in the corporation. And he was 38, 39 years old when the Volleyball League started. And in Kerala, he was well known. And he's a libero. That means he's not one of the tall players. He's a defensive player. So having that agility at the age of 38 is absolutely amazing. And he literally given the game away when the Volleyball League was suspended because of the federation issues. And then in 2022, one of the coaches of the Mumbai Meteors calls him up and says that, you know what, if you lose 15 kgs, you probably can come and play with us. He's 42 years old at that point in time. No, 43 years old. And he actually, with whatever funds he can put together, he gets a coach, spends 50,000 personal trainer and coach, moves in with a personal trainer and coach in one room so that 24 hours he's with him. He loses 12 kgs, has a very, very successful season. This year, he's playing for another team. He's playing for Kochi. He's getting good money playing this league. But can you imagine as a 43, 44-year-old making yourself way back as a libero? And there's so many such stories.
Wonderful.
For every person who's returned to volleyball, it's so good to see them. Most importantly, I can tell you one thing, that to watch a player the next morning going to the gym, looking up and seeing on Sony the highlights of his game, the pleasure that it gives you is something that is beyond. Those are our real rewards, to be honest.
Okay, completely out of time, but that's a wonderful note to end this show on. Gentlemen, thank you so much, and we wish you all the very best, especially to the players. I know Super 5 stage is coming up. It's an important time for all of you. All the best. Okay, that's it. Completely out of time. If you like our show, do let us know in the comment section below. That's it from us. Goodbye.
It's probably the best kept secret in India.
Family-owned business, which has been extremely clinical in their approach. They have not hesitated ever to kill their darlings.
Typical to a South Indian business empire, I think they've shunned the limelight almost deliberately.